Hello and welcome back to another, well, I guess the first Earthborn Rangers live stream. Today, we're diving into a new game that we unboxed last week called Earthborn Rangers. This is a exploration sandbox type game. It's akin to an LCG. They don't have more packs released, so I guess it's not a living card game, but it's the kind of the same feel where we are going to be creating a deck and then taking that deck through a campaign, which is going to be constructed over multiple days. What we're going to be doing in this stream is we're going to be building a deck of Earthborn Rangers. We're going to be playing it one-handed. We're going to create our ranger, and we're going to take on that first mission and see how it goes. I'm pumped. I played a couple of these, played I think 3 games of this so far. It is very solid. It's a very, very solid game. And so I am excited to play some more of it and explore more of the valley. This is the sandbox nature of the game, where this is the map. We're going to be starting over here at Lone Tree Station. And then we have missions, kind of like very video game feel, where we are going to be trying to move around the map and accomplish our goals, upgrading our cards, living our best life. So let's just go ahead and we're going to walk through the creation of a ranger. I don't have a fantastic idea of how to, or not, that's a concrete idea on how to build this ranger. So we're going to kind of do it together, and we're just going to go through it. So we're going to create a ranger card. It's broken into 5 different categories, and this is where it starts to feel a little D&D-esque for me, which is not a bad thing at all. I really like it. We got cards that are our aspects, our personalities, background, specialties, and then our interests. Now, each one of these is going to customize your character and make you feel a little bit different and unique in the game. What we're going to be doing first is choosing our aspect. The aspect cards are over here, and these are the stats for our characters. So we have awareness, spirit, fitness, and focus. And these are our currency. It's our resources. Basically, if you have 3, you're going to have 3 of these tokens, and those can be used to carry out tests or to pay for cards. Now, they do all of these, I believe, are a 1-2-2-3 formula, where you have a main stat, a stat that you are not proficient in, and then 2 average stats. I think what I want to do is make an initial choice here. Kind of think about, okay, we may like this, and then after the deck kind of starts to formulate, we can revisit and make sure that we pick the correct one, just because this feels like a pretty big decision and I don't necessarily know what all of them do. Now, each one of these are tied to a common test. So fitness is like traversing. So what we're going to be doing with fitness is use that stat in order to move around the map. One thing that they do kind of guide you in is they say, if you're playing a true solo game, do not choose a 1 fitness aspect. So we will choose a higher fitness. The the spirit, which I always read as spy, SPI, the spy. This is a connect. This is how you're going to interact with beings that are going to be coming out in the field. You have the focus, which allows you to draw cards, and then I'm sorry. Oh yeah. That is to beings. Awareness is kind of avoiding beings, kind of similar to like evasive in Arkham. Villain, this makes me want to play 1 fitness in solo now. Do it. Did you back it on Kickstarter or is out in retail? I backed it on Kickstarter, so I am not 100% sure what the um what the plan is for retail, but this is a Kickstarter copy. And so I do know that it plans to come out. And actually, now that I say that, I lied. You can get it on Team Covenant. I think it's a pre-order right now, but Team Covenant, the website, is partnering with them to be a distribution partner, and so you can get this game on their website as a pre-order. So that being said, I'm thinking that I want to, let's go 2 fitness. Let's do a 2 fitness, and then we can do a a higher other stat. We've got a 2 fitness. I kind of really wanted to play a forager, so kind of skipping ahead, I did do a little bit of homework here. Our background forager is all about interacting with plants and utilizing plants that are coming from the deck, and so I kind of really liked that. And so I may cheat and look at some of the forager cards and see what kind of stat they like to be using. My guess is that it's probably fitness. So let me grab those real quick. Okay, so we got foragers. There's actually not anything that costs 3. We got spy test, spirit test. We got a good bit of spirit stuff. So let's go with a high spirit. A 2 right here I think is fine. I do like focus though. Focus is nice. If I go, let me find the other 3 spirits. 221. There we go. Perfect. That's going to be our aspect. This is going to determine basically what we can do on a turn. Next up, the second part, and I'm just walking through the book here to this tells you exactly how to create your ranger. There's also a prologue that you can play through, which I did off camera. Really good at introducing the game, but we're gonna skip directly to the main story. But that also helps you construct a deck. When I did that, I still have no idea what I'm doing, but I really had no idea what I was doing. And so when I did that, my deck just did not work. But our personality are represented by these cards, which I always think about as being like skill cards in Arkham or resource cards in Marvel, where they are cards where you are committing to a test. And so these icons modify the test value that you are undertaking. And so if I say I'm going to do a test, I add that icon, and then this says after you succeed at a test in which you committed this attribute, gain 1 awareness. And so each one of the common tests, have a basic stat and a icon that you can commit to. But then there are going to be tests outside of the common test that have different stats based on it. I don't have a good feel for what icons do what. All I know is that if we have a low awareness, I think I probably want to add some cards in there to help out with that. And so there's 4 different personality colors. I I'm not 100% sure. Oh, okay. These are all tied to awareness. These are all tied to fitness, focus, and spirit. These, what you're going to be doing is you're going to select 4 unique cards and take both of the copies. So if I take Vigilant, I would take 2 copies of Vigilant and add it to my deck. And I do that for each one of the colors. So we have Vigilant. This adds the symbol for the awareness test, the basic common test, and it says the number of symbols here is equal to the number of awareness in our energy pool. I don't think that's going to be what we want because we only have 1 awareness. That's our maximum that we're going to have. I'm sure there's a way to get more, but that's our consistent maximum. We've got perceptive. After you succeed at a test in which you committed this attribute, gain 1 awareness. This is also a fitness test additive. So I think we're going to try to take those because then we can use perceptive to add to our fitness test, which then can add to our awareness pool, which is supplementing the lower side of our stats. Now, I'm approaching this as like I would any solo LCG, where if we have a low stat, we need to offset that or supplement that in some way. But let's go ahead and read. We got thorough. This is just 2 of the awareness test. Um, for some reason, I thought there's only 1, 2. Am I missing a green? Vigilant, thorough. Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Huh. Okay, well, not 100% sure on that. So there's that. We got our fitness. Now our fitness is a 2. We got passionate. After you succeed in a test, um, which you committed this attribute, you can suffer 1 fatigue to add it back to your hand. Now fatigue, I think, is the coolest mechanic in this game. You have your deck of cards, which also represents your stamina, and you're drawing those cards. And then there are going to be mechanics that cause you to suffer fatigue. When you suffer fatigue, you don't discard the card. You take the top card of your deck and put it in a fatigue deck. Now, there's ways to soothe fatigue, which you're going to be using to draw cards from that deck, but it does diminish your stamina. So when it says you can suffer 1 fatigue to put this card back into your hand, what you're doing is you're committing this, discarding the top card of your deck into a fatigue stack, and then you get to pull this back to your hand. I really like the fatigue mechanism. I think that's a really, really cool mechanism. So passionate. There are the deck that I built in like the prologue that didn't really work. Wanted to interact with fatigue stack a lot, and I wasn't able to get cards into the fatigue stack. Now there are ways, like mechanic wise, that things will fatigue you, but I just couldn't figure it out. And so like something like this would have been great because I could have committed the test to like maybe my spy test here, pulled it right back, and then I had a card that I could soothe. We have determined this is equal to the number of I need to learn these icons, equal to the number of fit in our energy pool, which there I don't think there's any reason to take determined over bold. Bold is just 2, whereas determined is probably going to be maximum 2. And then balanced, after you succeed in the test in which you committed this attribute, you can suffer 1 fatigue to gain 1 energy of any type, which I really do like that. And that's going to add to our awareness. I think I'm going to take that. Energy are the resources that go on this card. So once you take, or once you use this, I can use a fatigue to get basically a money back. And so I do really like that. Let's take a look at our focus. After you succeed at a test in which you committed this attribute, you may suffer 1 fatigue to add it back to your hand. The fatigue idea is very cool. Kind of a third dimension to the usual 2 dimensions of your actual. Yes, yeah, villain. I totally agree. And it's there. It opens up another design mechanism that you can utilize and interact with from both a player card and an encounter card standpoint. And it's really cool. It's really, really cool. I'm very happy about that. Suffer 1 fatigue to add meticulous back to our hand. I'm also kind of looking at our icons here, knowing nothing about the game. I'm kind of looking at our icons here. So we can pull this back to our hand, suffer a fatigue, versatile, and also, I guess what I could look at here, and this is what someone who's better at the game would know, is if you have something like this, after you, yeah, so it looks like our foragers are all about kind of soothing fatigue. And so I think the fatigue is a path that we could go down. We got meticulous, versatile. Before you commit this attribute, you can suffer 1 fatigue. If you do, it gains 1 of each other attribute icon. That is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. We got astute, has the 2, and then inventive, that's equal to the number of resource in our focus pool. I just took these randomly in the prologue, and I was playing a 1 focus character, and this was not a good card for me to have. So I'm all about the versatility. So let's take versatile, which we can suffer a fatigue, and it gets 1 of every other attribute icon. And then here in our spirit, I think our spirit is probably going to go with engaging because it's equal to the number of spy in our resource pool. And when I say spy, I do mean spirit. It's what I see, it's what I read. I'm a very simple person in that sense. So that can be up to 3. I feel like that feels really good. And I kind of want to just take that to say I took it. I do have my sleeves because I was like, I'm going to have to sleeve new cards. I started sleeving the entire thing, and then I took a Lord of the Rings approach where I was just like, okay, when I use the card, I will sleeve it because I got tired of sleeving and I just wanted to play. Okay, so we can start to see the formation of the deck. This is how you're going to build every single deck in Earthborn Rangers, where you're going to go through these 5 steps, choosing an aspect and then our personality. And these are, I think, the two. I think there are two very, very, very important pieces, but I think it's the less exciting part of building the deck. And we're about to build into what I think is the most exciting part. That's choosing our backgrounds and specialties. So backgrounds, there are 4 backgrounds that you can choose from. And what I do like is that it seems like they have set this up so that they can add more backgrounds and more specialties as the game expands. There is a planned expansion for this game already, of course. Respectable sleeving takes forever. Yep. I just usually I sit here and I watch One Piece and sleeve cards. Um, that's usually what I'm doing. Okay, so we're choosing our background, there's the artisan, the forager, the shepherd, and the traveler. Each one of these are doing different things and interacting with the game in different ways. So I guess like let's go ahead and see. Oh, this is cool. Okay, so you have this book goes through each one of the characters. I'm just gonna briefly read some of these. It has the cards, and you'll choose from this kind of selection of cards. A fellow One Piece fan, I am newly a new One Piece fan. I watched the live action and enjoyed that so much that I started the anime. And yesterday I caught up to the live action, so I'm like on episode 50. So very very new to it. Intrigued by the deck so far. Really like the process. It's pretty slick. So the artisan. So you worked on a specialized craft in one of the valley's villages. You're adept in use of tools, and you know how to work with your hands. Artisan cards are key off and support your equipped gear and the gear of other rangers. Nice. Enjoy the long journey. Thank you. Thank you. The forager, in your early life, you gain tremendous knowledge of plants of the valley. You know how to identify the flora of the wilderness, which are medicinal, which are edible, and which are dangerous. Forager cards key off the cards with the flora trait, allowing you to use them in a resource as ways that other backgrounds do not. The shepherd, in your early life, you tended a flock of iron wool sheep in the rolling meadows of the southwestern valley. You have a natural affinity for animals, and they typically affect beings. And then our traveler, your early life was spent walking the footpaths of the valley from village to village. As such, you can feel most at home when you're on the move. Traveler cards revolve primarily around making the most of a moment cards, which are events in this game. So I kind of have already chosen Forager just because I thought the cards looked really cool. We'll talk about the specialty here in a second. So your ranger's background represents their experience from their early life and young adulthood. It contains the skills and equipments that you're going to be bringing along with you. The background set contains 9 unique cards. What you do is you select 5 of these and add 2 of those cards to your deck. And so if I chose local fair, I would add both copies of local fair, and we're going to be adding 5 sets of cards into the deck to complement our personality. So we have static shifter. I'm going to maybe not read all of what's going on the card or every single card, but at least maybe these first couple. I'm going to go through the anatomy. So let's take a look at this guy. So static shifter, I'm actually going to hold it like this so I can read. Static shifter, this is a gear, tool, and food. It costs 2 spirit to put into play. So our aspect card here, this is going to refill every single round, and this is going to be the currency that we can use during the game. So we're going to have 3 spirit each round to spend. This is going to cost 2 to put it into play. It comes in with 0 counters. Some of the cards will come with more counters, but there is a way to add counters to this. Or we can commit this card for 1 triangle resource. And I wish that they had, at some point I'll learn the, I guess to be fair, I don't know the Arkham stuff either, the Arkham words. So maybe I don't need to learn it. Anyways, this is a minimum requirement here. So this says that in order to play this card, I must have at least 2 spirit, a base value of 2 spirit to include it in my deck. If I had like a 1 awareness, there's going to be probably something here. Like I cannot add this card into my deck because this requires a 2 awareness. I only have a 1. It says response. After you add 1 or more damage to a flora, and from the flora are going to be cards in this deck, and a lot of the times you can damage or add progress to a card. Damage typically for flora means that you're like eating it using the value. So after you add a damage to flora, you can add 1 counter, the Vittle, to this gear, and then I can exhaust, use 1 Vittle to choose a ranger. That ranger sues to fatigue. I think we're definitely probably taking this one just because that I want to be interacting with the flora. Nature's Abundance. Each ranger may add a damage to a flora to soothe 1 fatigue and gain 1 energy of any type. When you add 1 damage to a flora in this way, you may not exceed its damage threshold. We got Loose Leaf Tea. After you add 1 or more damage to a flora, you may add 1 herb to this gear. Choose a ranger. The ranger gains 1 energy of any type. That's pretty cool. It'd also be kind of fun to go and bounce back like between these two because you can trigger the responses. The last thing another thing that I wanted to point out, these dots here, it says it's 2 out of 5. This is how much you can carry. You can carry 5 dots worth of stuff. And so if I had both of these on the table, that would be 3 out of my 5 capacity. So it's a little bit more streamlined than you have 2 hand slots, which they have their benefits. Secret Garden, attached to a feature. Attached feature gains the Flora trait. I'm sure that is very good for something. Just don't know. The Carbon Forged Trowel. We can test Spirit to tend to the local plants, add or remove damage from a flora equal to your effort, or we can test Fit, strike 2. Strike out with your gardening tool to add 1 damage to a being for every 2 effort. If you fail, suffer 1 injury. I kind of like kind of like that. I'm starting to get really full with my my on table, my upgrades, my gear. That's what it's called. Familiar Ground. Add 1 damage to a flora and add 3 progress to a trail. That seems pretty good. We cannot take this because we only have 1 awareness. Local Fair. When a ranger performs a test, they may add 1 damage to a flora to dodge each being in the same area as that flora. That's going to be another way that trowel height. we are going all in on the trowel. When you interact with cards that are kind of outside of your reach and you're bypassing other things that are in your way of the card that you want to be interacting with, they will fatigue you. And so when this is saying whenever you perform a test, they can add 1 damage to a flora to dodge each being in the same area as that flora. That means that you can dodge you don't get the fatigue. Then Green Thumb. Search the path deck discard pile for a flora and put it into play with this skill attached. I love that. That's going to be pretty good. And you know what? Honestly, I think Familiar Ground is going to be another. We're just going to go with it. We're just going to choose these 5. So we got Static Shifter, Loose Leaf Tea Kit, the Carbon Forged Trowel, the OP Trowel, the Green Thumb, and the Familiar Ground. Loving all these cards so far, especially the art. I love the art. I think the art is really cool. And one of the things, I think all the moments have this type of ethereal looking type art, whereas like the attachments or the gear has a more kind of solidified art. So like you can kind of see the event versus the non-event art there. It's very different and I think really cool. We're getting there. Next, we're going to choose our specialty. Your ranger's specialty represents the training and experience of your ranger's adulthood and the specialized training they bring to the rangers. Choose one of the following specialty sets. There's the Artificer, the Conciliator, the Explorer, and the Shaper. We're going to go and do the same thing. So we got 38. This is our specialties. So this is, I think, kind of this day. The Artificer, part engineer, part visionary artist. Artificers are master craftspeople dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. You are a student of technology of the past, but are also an innovator forging the path with experimental technologies of the current age. Appropriately, artificer cards are primarily gear and attachments and are typically a cut above those found elsewhere. We already have a lot of attachments, so I'm curious if we don't want to do that because a lot of, I mean, 60% of our cards that we've already added to our deck are attachments. I don't know if I'm thinking about that correctly at all, but here we are. The Conciliator. Even before you joined the Rangers, you were dedicated to helping the communities of the valley, aiding anyone in need in matters of great and small. You are a natural medicator and protector and share a deep connection with the valley dwellers. That seems pretty good. Um, my only concern about that is, are we specializing too much? Because I feel like, well, these are beings, and the explorer, the valleys are natural explorers, but you have an affinity and aptitude for exploration that has made you an expert of the wilds. The valley cannot keep secrets for you for long. So I think an explorer could be really nice. And then the Shaper. Many years ago, you walked the perilous stair to the monastery at the top of Blind Peak, where through decades of study and practice of the floating tower, you learned to focus your intent and alter reality through the use of a conduit, a wooden modern. So these are the wizards. Oh my goodness. I asked. Let me find. Wow, that chat is really small. I just realized that. I did ask the Discord to see if there were any suggestions. Exceptional Tinkerer deck, Artisan Artificer, High Spirit, Conciliator, Shaper. I think I kind of. I mean, the Shaper sounds pretty cool. Wizards are pretty cool. I also kind of like Explorer. Let's do Explorer. Um, yeah, let's try Explorer. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go find the Explorer cards, and this is also gonna give us our unique character card. So the specialty set contains 14 unique cards. Select 5 for your chosen specialty, and then they have 2 roll cards, and you're going to pick a roll card. You're excited to see this deck work brilliantly, fail in spectacular fashion. I feel like we're going to do both. The one thing that I don't like about this is um the dividers work fine if you don't sleeve the cards. If you sleeve the cards, you can't read the dividers. I'll be disappointed if it's anywhere in the middle. Well, trust me, with my gameplay, it's going to definitely be at the low end of the spectrum. The other thing, we could probably look at the rolls and see if there's something that works really well for us. I'm going to look at each one of the rolls. So these are the Artificer rolls. Spend 1 energy to add 1 token to attack. Ready attack. We're not really building around the text, so I'm okay with not going with that. Oops, sorry about that. Trying to find them. I did sleeve all these cards. Okay, so these are the conciliators. Spend 1 energy to add 1 token to an aid card. And then this is exhausted being's presence to 0 until the end of the turn. Oh, and here are wizards. Wizards. So exhaust scout 1 challenge card and choose a manifestation in your discard, add it to your hand. So I'm good with the Explorer. Let's do the explorer stuff. One of the things that it was another piece of advice that was given to me, and I'm sorry I don't quite remember um, who gave me this piece of advice, but is to talk about or to look at um, ways to scout cards. Scout is scrying in this game, but especially in solo, there are going to be key cards in the deck that you need to find, and it's going to be nice if you can scout those. So we're going to choose 5 of these. So we can't play these because we only have a 1 awareness. Each one of these cards, or each one of the sets, has a 1 to 3. So that is also a way to be thinking about this. Leaf in the Breeze. When you traverse, dodge up to 3 cards. We can take Cradle by the Earth. Choose a trail. Soothe fatigue equal to the number of progress on that trail. This fatigue may be divided as you choose between all rangers. I kind of feel like I want to take that just because it is the 3 spirits, but maybe we don't. Breathe into it. When you perform a test, discard any number of cards from the fatigue stack to commit 1 effort for that test for every 2 cards discarded. Walk with me. After you succeed at a traverse test, add progress to a being equal to your effort. This is in addition to the test standard effect. I kind of like that. We cannot take the hidden trail. We can take the field journal. When you rest, add entries equal to the number of focus in your energy pool. We can use 1 entry when a ranger interacts with a feature. We can use 1 of these to commit an effort. This is another gear, so it's going to take out space. I kind of like it. The photoscope, it when a ranger scouts, increase the number of cards scouted by 1. I do like that. Discard any number of cards. We can't take that one. Exhaust, add 1 progress to a trail. Or we can strike out with the hiking stave to add 1 damage to a being for every 2 efforts. When you rangers perform a traverse test, commit 1 effort. You know what? Actually, there's nothing for scouting there. Wondering if there's something else that's going to be able to scout. Which we haven't completely finished the deck build. There is a one last thing that we can do to add something to that. But I'm just quickly looking through all these to see if there's any way that we can scout. I feel like wait, we just went through the explorer stuff. I was like, I feel like the explorer stuff would be the scouters. The shaper. Does the shaper scout? Okay, so it looks like this. We have some scout. After you perform a test in which you committed 1 or more manifestations, that feels like a whole. Manifestations are kind of like the spells, I think, in this. When you rest, if you have 1 or more focus energy in your pool, scout 1 card. So it kind of looks like we want the novice lens, which I'm okay keeping our. Wait, did I choose everything? So we chose Walk With Me, the photoscopic headset. That's 2. Breathe into it for 3. Whenever you traverse, dodge 3 cards. Can't take that. Whenever you perform a traverse test, commit 1 effort. I feel like I'm running out of space. Or like because these are all like these all take area, but I love upgrades and supports. That's just like the way that I love to play these games. Let's find a. I don't want to. We're gonna take this. We're gonna take a leaf in the breeze. We're gonna get rid of boundary sensor, I think, and look for another moment card. Just because I don't want to have too many gears. Another moment. That's gear, gear, gear. Everything's gear. Uh, moment wisdom. Choose a trail. Soothe fatigue equal to the number of progress on that trail. This fatigue may be divided. We may take that. I mean, soothing fatigue is nice. Let's do that. And then we are going to choose to either move your our token to a feature. That feature fatigues you. I believe that is only in multiplayer games. If I read that and I kept reading that and I didn't quite understand exactly. Um, what card are you most excited to play so far? Does anyone stand out? Yeah, it wasn't in this one. It was in here. Uh, I really like the idea of like the loose leaf key tit and the static shifter combo. So after you add one damage to a flora, you can add one like token to the gear, and then we can use the gear to do stuff, and then combine that with like green thumb, where we search the path deck and bring out a flora, so that we can start triggering all of our stuff. That's what I'm excited for. I'm excited for that kind of like build. Okay, then when you perform a test, dodge one card. We're gonna take that. That's just gonna, I think, give us a lot of flexibility. Then the last thing that we do, choose your outside interest. So the last step to creating your ranger is to select an outside interest, a card that represents your hobbies and passions outside of your day-to-day life. This is a single card chosen from any specialty or background set, which is crazy. The chosen card cannot be a role or have the expert trade in two copies of this card to your ranger deck. So any card, as you know, from any of these four, we can add it to our deck now, which is, I think, really cool. And then we'll have the entire deck. Nice. As an English guy who loves tea, I'm here for the tea comment. Yeah, nice. Excellent. Okay. And then since they say that the first time you create a ranger, this choice can be a daunting one, as nearly the entire card pool is at your disposal. If you prefer to choose from a shorter curated list, this is what you would do. And so we have Pharaoh decks, Boundary Sensor, Intention Translator, Iron Wool Boots. So these are kind of things that they say like maybe you want to look at. What were we looking at as? Oh, I for some reason I thought it was actually only specialty cards, but you can also grab background cards. And so I want to look for something that allows us to scout the deck, which was the Novice Lens, which is not something that they recommend. Wait. Oh wait, no, I don't have manifestations. Just kidding. I don't want that. There is also when we were doing the unboxing, I was kind of curious if there was something that like a Arkham DB or Marvel CDB. There is one. I think it's called Rangers DB for this. I feel like Traveler probably is a good one. So scout 3 path cards, then draw 1 path card. Seems pretty good. Reverb block it when you play this gear. Attach it to a moment. I think Eagle Eye, scout 3 path cards, then choose 1 path card. I think that's what we're gonna go with. Scouting 3 cards seems pretty good. It's not one that they have here, but then that's also going to be another way that we can find our flora. That was in the Traveler set. There you go. And that's the deck building process. So we ended up with uh, a Forger Explorer with a slight interest in traveling, and so that's the deck build. So it's kind of cool because you're not choosing like a hero in an aspect. You're not going completely crazy and choosing from the entire card pool like you would be with um, Lord of the Rings, but you are kind of choosing and building out of sub choices, which I think is a really cool way to do it. Alrighty, y'all ready to jump in? Let's do it.